Fluency in English does not come in one day. It is not something that happens overnight. It takes time, patience, and daily practice, just like learning any new skill. Improving your English requires effort every single day. Think about a tree. When you plant a seed in the ground, you do not see a big tree the next day. You must water it, give it sunlight, and take care of it. At first, nothing happens, but if you continue to care for it, one day, you will see a small plant. Then, after more time, the plant grows taller. Slowly, it becomes a strong and healthy tree. Fluency works the same way. When you start learning English, it feels difficult. You may know only a few words. You may not understand much. But if you practice every day, your skills will grow. One day, you will realize that you can speak and understand English better than before. I remember when I was a student, I wanted to speak English fluently. I wanted to be able to talk to others without feeling shy. But I made many mistakes, and I felt embarrassed. One day, my teacher told me something that changed my life. He said, "You can be fluent if you practice every day." At first, I did not believe it. I thought I needed talent. I thought I needed special skills. But then I decided to try. Every day, I did something in English. I listened to stories. I read books. I practiced speaking, even if it was just for a few minutes. Slowly, I started to improve. I still made mistakes, but I did not stop. I kept going. Many people want to be fluent, but they do not practice regularly. They study for one day and then stop for a week. But fluency does not work like that. If you stop practicing, you forget what you learned. But if you practice every day, even just a little, you will improve. Practice does not have to be difficult. It can be something simple. You can listen to English while cooking. You can say a few sentences to yourself in the mirror. You can read one short paragraph from a book. The important thing is to do something every day. At first, you may not see results. It may feel like nothing is changing. But do not give up. Every word you learn, every sentence you speak, every story you listen to, it all helps. One day, without even realizing it, you will find that speaking English feels easier. You will understand more words. You will feel more confident. The key to fluency is not to be perfect. The key is to keep going. To practice a little every day. To believe that you can improve. Because if you do, one day, you will look back and see how far you have come. And you will realize that daily practice was the secret all along. Many people think that fluency means knowing a lot of words. But that is not true. Fluency is not about remembering every word in the dictionary. Fluency is about using what you know and practicing every day. The best way to do this is by listening and speaking as much as possible. When I was learning English, I was afraid to speak. I thought I needed to know every word before I could have a conversation. But one day, my teacher told me something very important. He said, "Fluency is not about knowing all the words. It is about practice." That was the moment I understood. I did not need to be perfect. I just needed to keep speaking. Speaking is the best way to become fluent. When you speak, you train your brain to think in English. At first, it is slow. Maybe you need time to find the right words. Maybe you make mistakes. But that is okay. The more you speak, the faster and easier it becomes. Some students tell me, "I want to speak English, but I do not have anyone to talk to." But you do not need a partner to practice. You can practice by speaking to yourself. You can look in the mirror and say, "Hello, how are you today?" You can describe what you are doing. If you are making coffee, say, "Now I am making coffee. I like coffee. It smells good." Even talking to yourself helps you improve. Another great way to learn is by listening. When you listen to English, your brain gets used to the sounds and rhythm of the language. At first, you may not understand everything. That is okay. The more you listen, the more you will understand. You can listen to English in many ways. You can listen to stories. You can listen to songs. You can listen to people talking in movies or on the street. The more you listen, the more natural English will feel. When I was learning, I loved listening to stories. Every night, my teacher would read a story, and I would listen carefully. Then, I would try to repeat the sentences. At first, it was difficult. My pronunciation was not good. But I kept practicing. Every day, I repeated the words and sentences. Slowly, my speaking became better. Some students think that fluency means speaking fast. But that is not true. Fluency is not about speed. It is about speaking clearly and making others understand you. I once had a student who spoke very fast. But no one could understand him. I told him, "Slow down. Speak clearly. Use simple words." He listened to my advice. And soon, his English improved. Fluency is like a journey. You take one step at a time. You do not have to rush. You just need to enjoy the process. One day, you will look back and see how far you have come. So do not worry if you forget words. Do not worry if you make mistakes. Just keep listening, keep speaking, keep practicing, because fluency comes from using English every day. And the more you use it, the more natural it will become. Many people want to speak English, but they are afraid. They are afraid of making mistakes. They are afraid that others will laugh at them. They are afraid that they will say something wrong. Because of this fear, they do not speak at all. But the truth is, mistakes are a natural part of learning. Mistakes are not bad. In fact, mistakes are our best teachers. I remember one of my students. She wanted to speak English, but she was always silent. She never answered questions in class. She never practiced speaking. One day, I asked her why. She told me, "I am afraid. What if I say something wrong? What if people laugh at me?" I smiled and told her, "Do not worry about mistakes. Every mistake is a lesson. Every mistake helps you grow." At first, she did not believe me. But then, she decided to try. She started to speak, even when she was unsure. She made many mistakes. Sometimes she used the wrong words. Sometimes she forgot what she wanted to say. But she did not stop. She kept going. Then, something amazing happened. One day, she came to me and said, "Teacher, I am not afraid anymore." That was the day she started to become fluent. She realized that mistakes did not stop her from learning. Mistakes helped her learn. If you want to be fluent, you must stop being afraid. You must understand that mistakes are normal. Think about how children learn their first language. When a baby learns to speak, does the baby speak perfectly? No, the baby makes mistakes. The baby says words incorrectly. But the baby does not stop. The baby keeps trying, keeps speaking, keeps learning, and one day, the baby speaks fluently. You must do the same. Do not let fear stop you. If you do not know a word, try to explain it in another way. If you make a mistake, learn from it and move on. I once had a student who always translated from his language to English before speaking. This made him slow. He was always thinking, always hesitating. I told him, "Try to think in English. Even when you are alone, think in English." He tried this, and slowly, his fluency improved. Another student had a different problem. He loved to talk, but he kept switching between English and his native language. I told him, "Stay in English, even if you do not know a word. Try to describe it." This helped him stay focused. Soon, he was speaking only in English. Fluency is not about perfection. Fluency is about confidence. When you stop being afraid, when you stop worrying about mistakes, you will improve much faster. So, do not be silent. Do not wait until you are perfect. Speak now. Make mistakes. Learn from them. Keep going. Because every mistake you make brings you one step closer to fluency. Many people think that fluency only comes from speaking. But that is not true. Fluency also comes from reading, writing, and learning new words. The more you read, the more you learn, the more you write, the more confident you become, and the more new words you know, the easier it is to speak. When I was learning English, I did not only practice speaking, I also read books. At first, I read simple books. Some books were for children. But I did not care. I just wanted to learn. Every time I found a new word, I wrote it down. Then, I tried to use that word in a sentence. This helped me remember it. Reading is very powerful. When you read, you see how sentences are formed. You see how words are used in real situations. You learn grammar naturally. You do not need to memorize rules because your brain starts to recognize patterns. I remember one of my students. She came to me with a book and said, "Teacher, I read this book, but I did not understand everything." I smiled and told her, "That is okay. Keep reading. The more you read, the more you will understand." She listened to my advice. Every day, she read a little more. After some time, she came back and said, "Now I understand much more." Writing is also very important. Many students say, "I do not know what to write." But writing can be simple. You can start by writing one sentence every day. You can write about your day. You can write about your thoughts. The important thing is to write something. I had a student who was afraid of writing. She thought she was not good at it. I told her, "Do not worry about mistakes. Just write." She started writing a short diary in English. Every night, she wrote about her day. In the beginning, it was difficult. She made many mistakes. But she did not stop. After a few months, her writing became better. She could express her thoughts more clearly. If you want to improve your vocabulary, you must be curious. When you hear a new word, do not ignore it. Find out what it means. Try to use it in a conversation. Try to write it in a sentence. I once had a student who was very curious. Every time he heard a new word, he asked me what it meant. Then, he tried to use that word as much as possible. His vocabulary grew quickly, and his fluency improved. Another great way to learn new words is by using flashcards. Write new words on small cards. On one side, write the word. On the other side, write the meaning or an example sentence. Review these flashcards every day. The more you see the words, the more you remember them. Learning new words does not have to be boring. You can learn through games, stories, and conversations. You can listen to songs and write down new words. You can watch movies and pay attention to how words are used. There are many fun ways to learn. Some students ask me, "What if I forget words?" I tell them, "That is normal. Do not be afraid to forget. Just keep practicing. Every time you see a word again, it becomes stronger in your memory. The more you use a word, the more natural it feels." Reading, writing, and vocabulary building are all important parts of fluency. Speaking is important, but if you want to be truly fluent, you must also read and write. The more you do these things, the better your English will become. So, read something today, write something today, learn a new word today. Every small step you take brings you closer to fluency. Many people study English for years, but when they need to use it in real life, they feel stuck. They know grammar rules. They know many words. But when they try to speak, they cannot find the right words. They feel nervous. They do not know what to say. Why does this happen? It happens because they only study English, but they do not use it. Fluency does not come from only learning. Fluency comes from using English every day in real-life situations. I once had a student who studied English in school for 10 years. She was very good at grammar. She could read and write well. But when she traveled to an English-speaking country, she had a problem. She could not speak. She did not know how to order food in a restaurant. She did not know how to ask for directions. She was very frustrated. She came to me and said, "Teacher, I know a lot of English, but I cannot speak in real life. What should I do?" I told her, "You must start using English every day. You must practice in real situations." She listened to my advice. She started using English in her daily life. When she went to a cafe, she tried to order in English. At first, it was difficult. She made mistakes, but she did not stop. She kept trying. When she went to the supermarket, she looked at the product labels in English. She tried to read them. She tried to think about how to describe the items in English. She also started speaking English with her friends. They made a rule: when they were together, they would only speak English. If they did not know a word, they would explain it in English instead of using their native language. Slowly, she became more confident. One day, she told me, "Now I feel comfortable using English outside the classroom. I do not feel afraid anymore." This is the power of using English in real life. The more you use it, the easier it becomes. There are many ways to use English every day. You do not need to live in an English-speaking country. You can create an English environment wherever you are. For example, when you go to a restaurant, try to look at the menu in English. If the menu is not in English, imagine how you would describe the food in English. If you work in a shop, try speaking English with customers, even if they are not native English speakers. You can still practice. If you are at home, try thinking in English. Describe what you are doing. For example, when you wake up, you can say, "I am getting out of bed. I am brushing my teeth. I am making breakfast." You can also practice by talking to yourself. Some people think this is strange, but it is a great way to improve fluency. When you talk to yourself, you practice forming sentences. You practice thinking in English. Another great way to practice is by using technology. You can change your phone settings to English. You can watch YouTube videos in English. You can follow social media pages in English. I had a student who worked in a small shop. He decided to speak English with customers whenever he could. At first, he felt shy, but after some time, he became more confident. One day, a tourist came into the shop. My student was able to help the tourist find what he needed. The tourist smiled and said, "Your English is very good." My student was very happy. This is why real-life practice is important. It gives you confidence. It helps you feel comfortable using English in different situations. So, do not wait for the perfect moment to start speaking. The perfect moment is now. Use English every day. In every situation, the more you use it, the more fluent you will become. Many people think learning English is difficult. They think it is boring. They study for hours, but they do not enjoy it. They memorize long lists of words. They do grammar exercises, but they feel tired. They feel frustrated. But learning English does not have to be boring. Learning can be fun. In fact, the best way to become fluent is to enjoy the process. When you enjoy something, you do it more. And when you do it more, you improve faster. One of the best ways to learn English is through movies and TV shows. When you watch a movie in English, you hear real conversations. You hear how people speak naturally. You learn new words and phrases without studying them directly. At first, you may not understand everything. That is okay. You can use subtitles in your native language. Then, when you feel more comfortable, switch to English subtitles. Finally, try watching without subtitles. I had a student who loved watching English movies. Every night, he watched one movie. At first, he used subtitles in his language. Then, after a few months, he started using English subtitles. Finally, he watched without any subtitles. One day, he told me, Now, I can understand movies without reading the words. His fluency improved because he was enjoying the process. Another fun way to learn is through music. When you listen to English songs, you hear common words and phrases. You hear how words are connected in speech. You can sing along and practice pronunciation. I knew a student who loved music. She listened to English songs every day. At first, she did not understand the lyrics. But she kept listening. She looked up the words she did not know. She started singing along. Soon, her fluency improved because she was learning in a fun way. Reading can also be fun. You do not have to read difficult books. You can read stories, comics, or even social media posts. The important thing is to read something that interests you. I had a student who loved football. He did not like reading textbooks. But he loved reading football news in English. Every day, he read articles about his favorite team. Because he enjoyed it, he did not feel like he was studying. But he was improving his reading skills. Speaking practice can also be fun. You do not have to sit in a classroom and practice formal dialogues. You can talk about things you love. You can play language games. You can practice speaking with friends in a relaxed way. I once had two students who were best friends. They made a rule: when they were together, they would only speak English. At first, it was difficult. They made many mistakes. But over time, their fluency improved. They learned from each other. And most importantly, they had fun. You can also use apps to make learning fun. There are many apps where you can play games while learning new words. You can practice pronunciation. You can test your listening skills. Learning does not have to feel like hard work. It can be exciting. It can be enjoyable. When you find a way to learn that you love, you will stay motivated. You will want to practice every day. And when you practice every day, you will become fluent. So, ask yourself, what do I love? Do I love music? Do I love movies? Do I love sports? Find a way to connect English with the things you love. If you do this, learning will feel easy. Remember, fluency is not just about studying. It is about using the language in a way that makes you happy. So, have fun with English. Enjoy the journey. And soon, you will see great results. Learning English is a journey. It takes time, patience, and effort. Some days, you feel excited, you learn new words, and you feel like you are improving. But other days, you feel stuck. You feel like you are not making progress. You feel tired. This happens to everyone. But the most important thing is to keep going. The people who become fluent are not the people who never struggle. They are the people who never give up. I once had a student who wanted to learn English very quickly. He practiced for many hours every day. At first, he was very motivated, but after a few weeks, he felt tired. He stopped practicing. He thought, maybe I will never be fluent. He was too impatient. I told him, fluency does not come in one day. It takes time, even if you do not see progress. You are improving. You must trust the process. He listened to my advice. Instead of studying for hours and feeling exhausted, he started practicing a little every day. He made English a part of his daily life. He listened to English while walking. He read short articles every morning. He spoke to himself in English. After a few months, he felt more confident. He saw real progress. If you want to be fluent, you must be patient. You must practice every day, even if it is just for a few minutes. One way to stay motivated is to set small goals. Instead of saying, I want to be fluent, say, I want to learn 5 new words this week. When you reach small goals, you feel successful. And when you feel successful, you want to keep going. I had a student who did this. Every week, she set a small goal. One week, she learned 5 new words. Another week, she practiced speaking for 10 minutes every day. Another week, she watched an English movie with subtitles. These small goals helped her stay motivated. Over time, she became fluent. Another way to stay motivated is to celebrate your progress. Many students only focus on what they do not know. They say, I still make mistakes. I still forget words. But they forget to see how much they have improved. I always tell my students, look back. See how far you have come. Maybe last year, you could not introduce yourself in English. But now, you can. Maybe last month, you did not understand a movie. But now, you understand more. Every small improvement is a victory. Fluency comes from consistency. This means practicing a little every day. If you practice for 5 hours one day but do nothing for a week, you will not improve. But if you practice for just 15 minutes every day, you will see results. I had a student who made a simple routine. Every morning, she listened to a short English podcast while drinking coffee. Every night, she wrote one small sentence in her English journal. It was easy. It was simple. But because she did it every day, she improved a lot. If you want to create a routine, ask yourself, when is the best time for me to practice? Maybe in the morning, while drinking tea. Maybe at night, before sleeping. Maybe during lunch, when you have free time. Choose a time and stick to it. Learning a new language is not always easy. Sometimes you feel frustrated. Sometimes you make mistakes. Sometimes you feel like giving up. But a positive attitude makes everything easier. I had a student who was always positive. When she made a mistake, she laughed and said, "It's okay. I am learning." Because of this attitude, she never felt discouraged. She kept practicing. She enjoyed the process. And because she stayed positive, she became fluent. If you make a mistake, do not feel bad. Mistakes are part of learning. If you feel stuck, do not give up. Just take a deep breath and keep going. Fluency is not about being perfect. It is about never stopping. Fluency takes time. It takes practice. It takes patience. But if you keep going, you will succeed. So, do not give up. Keep practicing. Keep learning. Keep speaking. Every day, you are getting better. And one day, you will realize you are fluent. Now, I have a question for you. What inspires you to keep going on your journey to fluency?